What are some resources that you recommend to new managers? I love this question. And I get this from new managers or people thinking about going into management or even experienced managers. A lot of this is, how can I be a better manager? And I hear from people that they'll watch my videos as training, and I love that. But sometimes you may be looking for something more supplemental. So in this video, I'll walk through 5 things that I recommend. The first is Radical Candor. So this is a book by Kim Scott. So many people may have read this. One of the reasons I love this is something that I actually see through all the resources I recommend. Because I'm big about real talk and practical tips. Not just theoretical, like, oh, that sounds nice, that feels good, but things that you can actually do and say and talking in real language. And the first time I read Radical Candor, I still have like marks all through it. And one of the things I love is that this really thinks about how you communicate and why this matters as a manager. But there's also things that talk about how in your career you may have times that you're focusing on work more, other times you got to focus on life more. And so overall, I really love this book. In Radical Candor, so Kim Scott on her website actually has a free book club guide. I've run this. So when I was head of HR and a general counsel, I ran an internal book club where we talked about this and used those as resources. So I definitely recommend Radical Candor. Another is this book, Ask Powerful Questions. So this is another one. Because often, you may hear this, but the idea of ask questions, don't just tell people things, ask questions. But sometimes you may think, what questions do I ask without always going to ChatGPT? And this book is another one where I have all through it, have notes and have thumbed it out. But this book is a lot about thinking about conversations that matter. One of the things I love is on page 93, if you get this version of the paperback, is it talks about shifting your questions from asking why to asking how and what. And I've talked about this, but I love the way that they put this in this book. So Will Wise and Chad Littlefield. So this book, available in paperback, love it. And I'll link below all of these so you can check them out. Again, no affiliation, just things that I actually use. Another is the book Lessons from a Drive-Thru by Monica Rothgery. So Monica and I had both worked at Yum Brands. So we were at KFC at different times. She was the chief operating officer of KFC. Before that, she'd come up, she was in the Army, and then she moved into leadership at Taco Bell through a leadership development program. And so what I love is, so Monica has worked literally in the restaurants and then also in the restaurant support center or corporate center. And so one of the reasons that I started Manager Method is at the time I was at McKinsey and had just taken on the role to lead HR for North America. But one thing I kept thinking about was that there were restaurant managers, because when I worked at KFC in the restaurant support center, there were managers in the restaurants that were just the most incredible. They could drive business results. They impacted people's careers and lives in ways that were even better than senior partners at McKinsey. And so that there were just so many fundamentals of management. And so that's one of the things that's really captured in this book. And so I love it because if you are in restaurant retail, it's a book that really speaks to the realities of that environment. But she also ties in, if you're in any sort of corporate, manufacturing, healthcare, any type of environment, Monica really weaves in lessons from Taco Bell in particular and how those play into everything that you may work, again, no matter where you're located. So I really love this book, and it's one of the most practical leadership books I've ever read. So another resource is Harvard Business Review magazine. And so you can go and get a subscription. The annual subscription, as I'm recording this, I think it used to be $99 a year. Now I think it's about $130 a year. But Harvard Business Review. So I'm still a physical magazine person. I love to flip through these. So it comes about every 2 months. But also when you sign up for Harvard Business Review, you get access to all digital articles and things like that. And one thing that may really surprise you is when you hear Harvard Business Review, or what I thought, you may think, again, wait a second, Ashley, just 3 minutes ago, you said you really like practical tips. It's amazing how practical a lot of these tips are. There are articles in this, again, a lot of them, even when they have some academic things, they really break them down into practical tips. And they talk about all sorts of working environments. They'll talk about AI, but bring it into how does AI work when you're managing a manufacturing plant. And so a lot of this is really, really practical in ways that always surprise me, but I love going through every issue of Harvard Business Review. And one of the things that can be really helpful as a manager is to go and look at Harvard Business Review and look at articles. If you're thinking about okay, what are the values of taking time off? What benefits do they have to work? Again, they have a lot of research on that you can go through and all aspects of management. And so that's ways that whether you're a new manager or experienced, I love HBR research. And again, have found it really, really practical. So the fifth, I don't have anything in my hand because, so this is my book. Again, this is the fifth, but I'm making the video. I gotta stand behind what I'm about to put out. But in February, I have my first book coming out, which is called The Manager Method. And so has a 3-part framework that you can use for any situation as a manager. And in it, I talk about, what to do when it comes to developing your team members and hiring. Includes things of AI, how AI comes into play. And it's really designed to give real examples of how to bring it to life as a manager to help whether you are brand new to management or experienced. And so just like one of the things I loved about Radical Candor is we'll have a whole book discussion group. So if you're reading it on your own and you want to get a group together or you have it at your organization, you can go through the book and you can have those questions. So that'll be available for free on our website so that you can really make the most of it. Because everything we do, like I have a Manager 101 course, for example, with videos and a resource guide to go through these topics. But whether it's going through my course or going through it at your organization, again, sometimes it's really helpful to literally have tips at your fingertips. And so that's why I have it with my book. So that'll be coming out in hard copy, paperback, and even audiobook in February. And so I'll include the link how you can pre-order that if you'd like, or even bulk order if you'd like to order for your organization. But again, for that, it's really important for me to take the experience that I've had, but bring it into real practical terms and help you to have a guide to go through it. So again, these are 5 resources I really love. So if you have others, please feel free to drop those in the comments. I've generally learned about these from stumbling on them or hearing about them for others. So I always love recommendations and hope that they're helpful.